Hi everyone, welcome back to SGDA Student Game Showcase. I believe it's Showcase Slot E right now. We're here with Japanese Salaryman from VGDC at UCI. I'm Jason, again, the president of SGDA. And yeah, Anush, if you could introduce yourself and the team, please.
Definitely. Hey there, folks. This is Anuj. I'm the webmaster of SGDA, here once again for our student showcase slot, and we're here with the dev team for Japanese Salaryman. If you guys would like to introduce yourselves, um, we can have that, and then get started with the game and the trailer.
Hi, I'm Neil. I'm the games director, and I'm the one who does like a huge amount of coding, programming, and design stuff.
Hey, my name's Angel. I'm the marketing director and general design member as well. And honestly, it's kind of weird, my responsibilities. I kind of just do whatever is needed by a general amount of people. It's been fun. Get to do a lot of varied things.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and get started.
So here is hacking in our game. This is just background game footage if we want to talk or discuss bits of the game, not part of the trailer.
Awesome. In that case, we'll go ahead and get started with the questions. The first question: how did you come up with the idea for the game? How did it come into fruition?
So the game started as like a solo project. It was my final year of high school, and my friends had this joke that Mappa was like the worst company ever to work for, and that kind of like evolved into making a joke, a game about a guy who has like the worst job ever and works at Meta, which has a very similar logo, and then
Legally distinct.
and then we got to I got to UCI, and then I pitched it to VGDC at UCI, and then I met my team, and then we went separate, and then we've been working on it for the last year.
I think I remember the hearing about the stories like working conditions at Mappa, and I was like, that's pretty awful.
Yeah.
There's a reason why every like fan animation of JJK or Chainsaw Man or something has like, be careful, you don't want Mappa to find you.
Yeah.
How has the game changed since its original pitch? Has it changed, or has it stayed pretty consistent?
Since the original idea in like high school, or like since pitched here at UCI.
We can do both, maybe. Like, how did it change in high school, and then how did
So
it change when it got to UCI?
the OG game was very different because so currently right now you see this like hacking gameplay, and the story is basically is that you're infiltrating your company's servers to steal some information and sell it on the black market. But it didn't always look like this strategy game that you kind of see here, where you're kind of like thinking about like, okay, this should lead into this, which should lead into this. Back then it was like more of like a Metal Gear Solid, but like with a computer coat of paint on it, where you like manually controlled a like little dude that was like walking through a computer. And then I realized that you can't make that like into necessarily like a full game. Like it's good for a decent like 5 minutes, but there's not really like a loop of progression or anything there. So then this idea came to be when I was pitched at UCI. And then there was like a large amount of just changes and different ideas and stuff that we did as a team, because we would come up with something and then we would be like, well, actually this doesn't feel that good for the player, or this has this problem, and then we would look at it and then we would be like, okay, well, what can we change? Angel, do you have any ideas or examples you want to throw out?
For like how it's changed, I think
Yeah.
a big change that and a big change I think was the actual overworld outside of hacking, how it used to be top down, and we've kind of gone into a more like, I would say, cinematic way of presenting the game, where now it's like a side scroller with more detailed character portraits than it was previously. A lot of presentation has really come a long way from the original vision for the game.
That makes sense. I feel like it's like game ideas are such a funny thing because they can start. I'm kind of curious what that like original vision would have looked like, but also I do see how you mean it. Like that sounds like something that you need a lot of money and team and like a huge team to work on. How big is the team that worked on this game? Actually, I'm kind of
12, 13 people.
okay. It's quite good, well sized.
Yeah, I mean, it's just what is it? It's been a kind of like quite a variable team, because we've had people who've joined for like a quarter, people who have been there for longer. So it is 13 people, but in terms of like super active members, the team size is a little bit smaller than that.
Makes sense. What are you most proud of from the development of this game?
I think or was it? Personally, I think it depends on what you're asking, because I've had my hand in a bunch of different aspects of the game, of like programming and stuff. The surveillance thing that you saw from the trailer it was technically very hard to pull off. Although I don't know if it's like the best like quality of the game or whatever. I'm personally happy with how the writing's come out so far. Angel might have different thoughts than me.
So far, I think I'm most proud of definitely like the narrative. I think a lot of like tough decisions, especially on Neil's part with the writing, and I think a lot of things when it comes to writing, especially for projects that students are doing, definitely tend to lean towards a more how should I put it, like a more standard format. I think Neil's honestly taking a lot of risks with certain decisions in like the narrative of this game that people would get like, I don't want to spoil anything, right, that happens, but I think it's really interesting to see play out, because I think that I see enough media where I can like see things coming ahead of time, and then Neil is like, hey, what do you think about this plot point? And I was like, oh dang, like that's insane. I didn't think that was gonna happen. So I think I really do like the presentation of this game a lot, and I think that the actual content going through with that presentation, or the way we're presenting the actual content, not only is the content itself really good on paper, but it is just greatly lifted by the way the game is actually presenting it to you in both the mechanics and the aesthetics.
It is really interesting to see this kind of like dichotomy of gameplay too. I'm just like, this is a very different like this is almost like a resource management or like a RTS game versus like the original strategy game.
Yeah, the thought process is basically like huge inspirations from Persona, and in Persona you were dueling this like kind of like life sim elements with more this like JRPG dungeon crawling kind of thing. And what we realized that what we kind of wanted is we wanted that like dungeon crawling aspect, which is what the hacking strategy game that you saw before was, but this is more economy focused. So the role of this in the game is that this is where you earn money and increasing your hacking abilities by like researching new technologies and stuff, and then that expands your abilities when you were like quote unquote dungeon crawling, or when you were doing hacking and everything.
That makes sense. This actually brings up my next question of what was the hardest part of development of the game? Was there anything that kind of like stuck out as this is really hard? Or
this is very difficult because okay, so what you're looking at, all the like cells and everything are generated by a tool that we had to make in-house, which uses a half-edge graph, which is this like kind of hard data structure to write. So I had to write a tool so that you can make this app map in an editor, and then transfer that editor and visualize it, and then on top of that make this entire like factory grid system that can be saved down to binary, so that you can have like hundreds of these like cameras and stuff. So technically this, what you're seeing right now, was insanely difficult to make. I mean, if you ask like an artist or someone on the team, they might say that some of the environments had like a huge amount of like time and effort put into them. But as a programmer, that would be my thoughts.
This looks like an algorithm that I would like have in my algorithms class. Is like a good luck, find out what this does. So that makes sense. Just like having that and having it also have to work around like game balance sounds nightmarish.
Yeah.
It does not sound easy. What do you mentioned really liking the like the Persona 5 games earlier, or not Persona 5, I guess there are Persona 5 games, but the Persona series earlier. What about this genre was appealing to your team, and what made you kind of gravitate towards it?
One, I think part of it is just that it isn't extremely saturated. Because when initially kind of like concepting and such, I originally thought about like making like a roguelike or something like that, but then also it feels like everyone I know is making one of those, and it kind of like saps the fun out of it a little bit, because you're kind of facing the same problems and questions and answers that have been answered largely. So I think it's not super saturated, and that makes the problems a bit more interesting. And then also, I think it has a lot of potential because I like how it cycles different types of things that the player is doing. For example, in like a traditional roguelike or whatever, you're kind of always in one mode while playing the game. And that's fun, and there are a lot of roguelikes that pull that off beautifully. But I do like this kind of idea of like, okay, I'm doing this now so that in like 5 or 10 hours or down the line that it will be easier to do this. Or and I think Persona-like games allow you to plan a little bit more into the future, and what you're working towards is always towards a bigger something, rather than just immediately thinking about like, well, what's the best option right now.
And I think like that is a really interesting like dichotomy, or I guess dichotomy of those games of just, I can't, like, I have to finish this dungeon in time, but I also need, like, if I rush it, then I sacrifice my relationships, but then those relationships also help me in the dungeon. So it's like that feedback loop of just like my decisions inform each other in a way that is more interesting than just like, oh, there's one obvious strategy here. What are the plans for development going forward?
We're hoping to release this year. So we're looking hopefully around like November, December. But there's, I mean, a lot of content and stuff that needs to be made for the game. So like, luckily we are relatively well off in terms of like the systems being done for the game, but we still just have a shit ton of content to do.
That makes sense. I think it's so easy to kind of set those deadlines, and then you start working on them, and you're like, I need to push these back, especially if you're still a student or just coming out of school. That makes sense. I think we're coming up on time right now, so let's ask our final question of, is there anybody that you'd like to shout out, give a special mention to, any teacher or anything? The floor is all yours.
Well, I really shout out everyone who helped us on the team. Specifically, shout out Vivian, who's made all the, or not all the, but like a large amount of the environments that you've seen, and is the art director for the game, who unfortunately couldn't make it today. But really, just shout out to everyone on the team who they've all had some bit of the game that they've made better by being here.
So, with that, I think we are wrapping up with with the latest student showcase slot. Thank you to the team behind Japanese Salaryman for coming to speak with us today. Next up, we'll be having our design panel, and then a break, and then we'll be back for more showcase slots for today. Thank you everybody for watching. We will see you in a bit.